Okay, so I will be recording this. It's, we're going to be going over MessageBee and all of the features, not just the deliverability of ILS messages, but it also has a feature that is present in the email deliverability of ILS messages that you can add in any kind of marketing aspect. If there's programs or services that the library wants to market to their patrons, this is a great way to deliver those messages in the ILS messages, such as holds, pickups, and pre-due and auto renewal or whatever. In addition to that, there's also a marketing aspect, which really helps libraries kind of replace their regular outreach methods with one that is more automated and streamlined and very easy to use. And I hope to show you all of that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a slideshow. It should be brief, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, to just kind of give you an overview of MessageBee. And then after that, then we'll go into the portal and we'll really see all of the features and capabilities of the system. As I said before, you feel free to jump in with any questions that you have on the spot. Going to share my screen here. You guys should be seeing a what says MessageBee and unique on it.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So the unique is the communication specialist for libraries. We're built for libraries. We've been doing this since 1995. I've been in libraries since about 1995 as well. I first became aware of unique around 2001 when I was working in a library in California. Um, Libraries since then have come a long way. We've come a long way in terms of branding, appearing relevant and modern in the community. However, one thing that hasn't really kept up with is our typical mode of communicating. And I know that libraries do a lot on social media. They've upgraded their websites. They've got logos and branding. And when you walk into the library, you see that. However, not always does that show up in all of the communication that we're sending out to the patrons. Um, so some of the challenges that libraries are encountering, and we've already talked a little bit about yours, that is actually the most common challenge that libraries are facing with their ILS delivering notices. You've also got on-premise hardware that needs to be maintained by the library, either the city or the county, and those oftentimes we hear those things are out of date or they're nearing their end of their life cycle. Um, eh, that is part of the issues that we're hoping to tackle, but deliverability, of course, is the number one. That usually stems from the internet service providers that blacklist the library or they report those notices as spam. Um, there's not just the ISPs, but also the cell phone carriers in terms of phone or SMS deliverability of messages. We work with the ISPs and the cell carriers to make sure that we're whitelisted. We make sure that the messages going out um, uh, are delivered timely. Our libraries definitely see a stark improvement. Now, I can't say that's 100% deliverability, but it is close. And it's some libraries have reported 40% or 50% deliverability of their messages, which isn't really serving the public. You also have limited reporting. That often creates service limitations. Sometimes messages are going out without any way of tracking the deliverability. of those messages or the engagement. I use the analogy of playing tennis in the dark. You can hit the ball over the net, but you have no idea if that point scored or if it's been returned. So in a way, that is another thing. When I was working at libraries, I was a library manager, and I liked data, and I liked to make those data-driven decisions. So reporting was very important to me. Um, it's often difficult, slow, or impossible to make changes and requires significant technical support to make any changes to the notices. And so they're kind of inflexible. Email notices, even email notices going out are often plain text and lack any library branding or actionable links. Um, the example that is here is it's an actual library. And I know that this message is dated 2018, but it might as well be delivered in 1995 when we're talking about when I got into libraries. They haven't changed. I know that libraries still use this kind of plain um, language when sending notices, and that's not how we communicate to our patrons in any other way. Um, Also, notices are going out from the ILS are often English language only in emails, texts, or phone, and that's not serving all of our public either. So I definitely want to say that Unique is the patron engagement company for libraries. All of our products and services help libraries find their patrons in their community and engage with the community in meaningful ways. Our flagship service, which most people know us for, is the Gentle Nudge Material Recovery. Yes, it recovers assets from the library and saves the library money. But in addition to that, what we're really doing is communicating with patrons. That's what this product does. Um, those are blocked patrons, but they're still patrons. Over there on the right, patron services is kind of a catch-all term that we use for incoming phone and chat support that facilitates communication initiated by the patrons coming into the library. Obviously saving the library time and maintaining the high level of customer service that libraries are known for. That is the incoming communication. Outgoing is handled by MessageBee. So if you think of communication as a two-way street, you've got incoming communication handled by our patron services, and outgoing is really falls under the purview of MessageBee. It's a robust patron engagement platform that enhances communication initiated by the library going out to the patrons. We'll get into that more. Within that messaging going out, that usually falls in two different areas. One is a um, daily circulation notices. Those are more or less transactional notices. Those are your ILS, the holds notices, e-receipts, auto renewals, even overdue notices. Those are all transactional in nature. Those are two examples. One is on the left there, the transactional notices, and on the right, it's marketing. And that's another way that libraries communicate to their patrons is through marketing their programs and services. MessageBee offers it's a comprehensive tool for libraries to do both using the same portal. It's really easy to use. We'll get into that when I show the portal. MessageBee is also multi-channel. It incorporates email, SMS, and automated phone communication. And it utilizes the ILS notification preference in the patrons to communicate, to deliver those messages in the channel, in the manner, and in the language that patrons prefer. Now, obviously, um, MessageBee is available in each of those channels, But the way that we set this up for libraries to sign on is it's a la carte pricing. So libraries really do appreciate that, especially those with a smaller budget, so that they're not, buying something that they're not using. So if it's phone, just phone, or just SMS, or all three, um, your pricing is related to the use. So MessageBee features, it's an easy to use editor. It's a what you see is what you get editor. So if you've ever used anything like Constant Contact or MailChimp, it'll seem very familiar to you. It's drag and drop. And this is available at the branch level, even at the kiosk level. No technical expertise is required. It's up to the library to determine which library staff members would have access to make changes to the templates. But it's really easy to use. You could just set it up so that everybody can do it. The library invests a lot of money and a lot of time in their branding, and they want to make sure that that's sending out in every communication that they send to their community. They want to be visible, and libraries need to show that they're a quality institution. So, the example right over here is from an award-winning library. It looks like um, it's a holds request from CALS, and you can see there that they've got two different areas of just the holds notice, that they've got areas where they are marketing or promoting their services. Um, You've also got visible tracking. You can see engagement levels over time. You can make those data-driven decisions. You can see how those messages are being delivered, when, and you can even see down to the patron level. And I'll show you more of that when we get to the portal. MessageBee, of course, was built for libraries with the highest level of flexibility and communication in mind. Notifications can be sent in any language that patrons prefer. Libraries will have the option to have branch or kiosk level customization to wording that appears within the notification contents. For every email that is sent out, as I said, you can promote the library's services, but you can actually schedule these things in advance in the banner images and links. So the changes are made automatically, and so that you can make sure that your marketing plans are executed, even if it's just through the ILS. We integrate with every major ILS platform, Koha included, of course, um, that allows the creation of dynamic lists based on patron attributes in the ILS. So you could create a list of patrons circulating items within a date range at a particular branch. Um, uh, Age, patron ages, uh, card expiration, birthdays, any of these things can be used to segment portions of your patron population and send targeted outreach specifically to those. And circulation notices will be sent through our MessageBee system, and that is going to remove the IT burden from your technical operations, whether it's email, phone, or SMS, or all three. You those are things that you don't have to worry about anymore. It's all cloud-based. Now, we send more than 4 million library circulation notices every month. We obviously have a dedicated team that monitors our deliverability and the reputation to make sure that the highest possible inbox delivery rate delivered to your library patrons. So we is MessageBee is designed to help libraries improve their communication. It is something that that I hope I was able to show through these slides. We're going to get into the portal right now, unless you guys have any um, any questions for me right away.
Yeah. No, I think we're good. I think we're
Okay,
good.
awesome. Let's go into the portal and let me show you what it can do. So right now we are in, if you guys can see, it should say MessageBee at the top. I'm in the demo customer and I've got the reporting module pulled up. And why I start with reporting is usually because this is a feature that you don't normally find in your ILS. This is something that I really like because, as I said before, I used to be a library manager, and this really helps. I like numbers. Um, in the reporting, we can filter by notification type: email, SMS, or voice. I'll leave it at all of them. And we could also filter by notification type. Now, every library, we've got, I want to say over 400 at this point, over 400 libraries using MessageBee, and each one of them sets up their notifications. It's all custom made. So most libraries will say holds notices are their most important notice. Holds notices, overdue notices are probably the next most common, but every library sets up their own. So at this point, with over 400 libraries and all kinds of different notices that we've set up, there isn't one that we haven't already done for another library, even on the same ILS platform. So I'm going to leave the notifications at all of them, and I'm going to select a date range to show you for this data here. And pulling it up, you can see graphically now every day. Maybe I chose too much time. But you can see graphically how your messages are being delivered. Here we go. I chose less time. So the series can be toggled on and off. I could add in bounced clicks, but right now I've got it set to sent messages, which is represented by the blue line, delivered messages, which is represented by the darker peach, and open messages, which really just tracks the email open rate of the email notices. That's represented by that lighter peach line. If I cruise down here, I'm going to close these out. If I come down here, I can see how each message has been how each message performed. So here is a blast notice, which was sent via voice. Now, a blast is something that we can also do for libraries. Those are usually used for emergencies. That's basically sending one particular message to everybody on that particular channel. This is not something that you would probably use to let everybody know that there's story time today at 9 o'clock. This is more for emergency closures or whatever. E-receipts, this one is an e-receipt sent via SMS, and you can see that there were 8 of them that were sent total, and 8 of them were successfully delivered. If I click on this tab over here, it'll show me all the specific failures. So each message that was failed to send and the reason why. And I'll tell you, most of these are going to be because those are fake email addresses. So we can also you can also download the failures report if you'd like, or any of these reports, either failures or successes or anything, we could email to your inbox either daily, weekly, or monthly. It's something that you're particularly wanted to track, for example. Um, we can, as I said before, we can do this down at the patron level. In the detailed search, we can search for patrons either by email, phone, or barcode. I'm going to type in a portion of an email. And again, the same thing, I want to get a large, because this is a demo account, I want to get um, a large chunk of time here. And I could filter it by notification type. Um, so here are all of the messages sent in that time period to a specific patron. You can see at the top level the final status of the message. All of these are delivered, and what kind of notification type it was. This is an overdue notice. This is a holds notice. This is a newsletter. Um, if I click on the expander button, I can see not only when it was sent, but when it was delivered. And and in this case, when it was opened. So this message was sent at 11:04. It was delivered at 11:09 and opened at 11:14. This really helps at the circulation desk. You know, as it is right now, I suppose the only way that the circulation staff can deal with a report of undelivered messages is just to verify the user's email or phone number.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Okay, so, because right now, I'm a circulation person. So, when we, somebody will say they don't get their message and we'll look in Koha that the notice was sent. So like that, your chart up here, is that really sent? Because it will always say that the message is sent, but it's like, it sent it, but it has no real meaning.
Yeah, no, these are sent, and it'll even track it when it's delivered. So
Okay.
not only do you know that it was sent, and you will know that it was delivered, and you will even know that it was opened. And in the case of email notification, you can even see you not only did you receive this email, sir or ma'am, but you even clicked on these links here. So we can tell, you know, when the message was sent exactly and when it was delivered, and we're reporting that back to the to the ILS and to the library. You can look at this. The way it works, and it depends on the ILS, but the way it works is that there's a report that is sent out from the ILS. Most libraries have this report just sent daily, and part of that report will list um, all of the important detail that we would need to deliver the message. So the patron's name, their phone number or email address, and the item in the case of holds or overdues. Um, those are sent to us, and we'll send those out from our servers. So there's a much higher rate of deliverability on that.
And Eric,
Yes.
from this view, can you see if it failed?
Yes. There aren't any fails here.
But it
I
would tell you that it
yes,
didn't actually make it
ex
there.
it would let you know if it was failed. So you see with this column right here where it says notification final status, it'll tell you right here if it failed.
Okay.
I'm sure if I go into a different library, or maybe a larger bunch of time, it'll show me a failure or two. But yeah, you can tell at this point, you don't have to click on the expander button, really.
Okay.
The other benefit of this is that you'll actually see a preview of the message. So you could even say, this is what you would have received. So in this case, this is what that patron received. This is a template that we took from one of our customers, Virginia Beach. This is an overdue notice, and you can see the library is using their logo and their colors up here. They've got actionable links up here at the top. Most libraries will have a link to my account. Some libraries have a link to the catalog. Some libraries have a link to the electronic resources, whatever that they're trying to make it easy and convenient for the library patrons to use. Down here, they're highlighting their electronic resources. Now, here, if your library subscribes to a like what is it, Content Cafe or Syndetics Unbound, some kind of catalog enhancement tool, the dust jacket would show up right here. And then of course they've got links to their social media. Now you'll notice that nowhere on here does it have our branding. There's nowhere on here that it says unique or MessageBee. This is all to the library. Obviously, you know, our goal at unique is to be invisible to the patrons. So that is, you can see exactly the message that was sent and delivered to that patron. If I look at an older message, let me look at this one. It'll show that the preview is not found. And that is because we purge that data by default after 90 days. A lot of libraries have us custom set that to 60 or 30 days to protect patron privacy a little bit more. One library had us set it to 2 days. This isn't very helpful, you know, for the public, but at least it protects privacy a little bit more. So that's like everything else is customizable. But I said by default that data is purged after 90 days, but we keep the metadata. So you'll see that it was delivered at this time and it was a holds notice. We just don't have the title information anymore. Any questions or comments before I move off of the reporting and go into the different types of templates? Okay. I'm gonna, you guys can feel free to ask me questions afterwards too. I'll just try to remember where we were. I'm gonna show you a couple of libraries and the templates that they've got set up. Now the templates are what holds the message, what holds the notification from the ILS usually, okay? Now this is Pima County in Arizona, and they have email and voice communication channels. I'm going to set this up. I'm going to look at their voice notices first. All of the branches could have individual templates. We don't happen to set that up for Pima, but in the case of some libraries, maybe you've got a one branch that maybe Spanish or Mandarin is their primary language. That could be set up like that. Other branches could be set up so that you know, the holds notice is going out, describe how to approach the library in case of like construction or whatever. In this case, all of their branches have the same template. So for voice, all of they deliver everything. They deliver it in holds, overdues, or notices. I'll just show you a holds notice, and they deliver everything in English and in Spanish in Pima County. I click on preview, and this is the message. This is a message from Pima County and you can see that there's a variable in there. So the variables obviously is reading from the report that was generated and sent to us. It's very easy to edit. If I just click on modify editable fields, I go in here and I can immediately just start typing and make make some adjustments to the language. It's that easy. Now, for our voice notices, those could be sent either text to speech or pre-recorded message. The text to speech is what's most common. Most libraries choose that, and it does different languages as well. I've heard the text to speech in both English and in Spanish, and it sounds natural. You're not going to mistake it for a live human, but it sounds good. It's not robotic in any way. I'll show you their email notices. Um, they do a few more notices sent via email. I'll still select a holds notice. And again, everything is in English and in Spanish. I click on preview, and this is the template that's holding the notice. So they've got their library branding up here, those actionable links. They've got a space down here to highlight their hobbies and crafts, social media links. Um, so a lot of libraries create their images on Canva or something similar and then just upload it up here. So it's stored up here and they can be used anytime. You can send yourself a test email to see exactly what that would look like. If I click on image selection, they have a different banner image and link in Spanish than they do in their English, of course. And this is so during the month of January, they happen to be highlighting their hobbies and crafts. At the end of January, it will default back to their concert series that they were promoting. But I'll tell you right now that it won't, because Pima County is usually pretty good at adding one or two more promotions in the queue. It's easy enough to edit this time period. If I click on edit, I can extend the date into February if I want, or decrease the date. I can change the link, the URL, and this is the typical editor that you would see here in MessageBee. It's all what you see is what you get. If you want to have the text bold, you just bold it. No HTML is required for this. So let me show you another library. Here we go. So Central Arkansas sends messages in email, and they do pre-due, overdue, holds. I'll show you what a holds notice would look like. And again, same thing. They've got their library colors, their library logo, a lot more links up here at the top. They've got an upper image or link that they're promoting their calendar. They've got their digital library down here that they're promoting. And it's easy to modify this. You can see what it would look like. This is all responsive, so you could see what it would look like on a cell phone versus a tablet or laptop or desktop. You can modify these fields, go in here, and then just you can just modify this with the what you see is what you get editor. And of course, I'm not going to do that. The text notices, those were similar in flavor to the voice notices. It's a text thing. You could conceivably go beyond those 160 characters that you're limited to. If you go beyond that, then it would just be delivered in two separate SMS notices. So, excuse me, my nose is itching. It's so dry here. Any questions about these templates before I move off of them?
a question about the text notices. So
Yes.
say I have a patron who has 10 holds and they all come in at the same time. And so they're
Oh.
going to get a text message to pick up all of their 10 stuff. And obviously it's over the 160. So will they get, depending on how long the information is, will they get like, up to 5 messages, or, how long will it go? Will it just complete the data in the number of messages it needs?
Yeah. Now you could set that up. You could, your choice to set that up so that a lot of libraries would do this to limit that. So if they're listing the holds, five titles, for example, they would just list one, the first title, and then say and 4 other books or 4 other items to be picked up. That way, they can be sure that they're keeping it all into 160 characters. Um, some libraries don't even list all of the titles. They just say you've got holds. So here is a holds notice. Um, you have items for pickup at the something location by this pickup date. And questions, call this, or you can go online and visit us online. So this one particular, this text notice is very short, very to the point, and it doesn't list any titles at all. It is entirely up to the library how they want to set that up. Um, Text notices, when we get into the pricing, I'll let you know that text notices are very inexpensive. So if you go beyond the 160 characters and it delivers a second or a third um, text notice, it's going to cost you pennies. That's really the difference on that. That Actually, your question brought up another point. A lot of libraries ask about how messages are grouped together. And that, again, like everything else, is customizable. A lot of libraries don't want to send more than one message to a patron. So, for example, you have some items that were auto renewed, and some items that are due. You could consolidate those all in one message, whether that's SMS, voice, or email. You could consolidate all of those in one message, or if it's up to you, if you choose to have those separated so that the patron isn't quite so confused, you could have one message deliver all of the auto renewals, and then another message deliver all of the pre-due notice.
But if you did that, so if you, like, are you saying that it only is gonna send one message a day if you choose that? So if a hold came available later in the day,
Well, that again is up to you. And I hate to sound like this, but it's all customizable. Now, yes, you're right. Now these reports are sent out. Most libraries have it sent out every day. So you're going to we get the report, and then we have those sent out at a time specified by the library. Now, I live on the West Coast, and I've worked in libraries on the West Coast, and so it's really annoying to get those phone calls or emails at 6 o'clock in the morning. You could have it set to deliver at any time. Now, you were asking about how often those messages are generated. That is, as I said, up to you. As often as about, it's not real time, but as often as every 15 minutes. Um, and that really only comes into play when you're dealing with holds. So if a title is on hold and the patron is in the library browsing, and the clerks empty the book drop and they scan in that particular title, and it'll be held for that patron who happens to be in the library browsing. They won't necessarily receive that notice right away. But adds up to about 15 minutes or so. For the most part, that doesn't really come into play for all of these other notices, auto renewal, um, uh, uh, pre-due, anything else other than holds, and possibly even e-receipts. I don't, e-receipt is another one that people might want to run more often, but that's customizable. That will also be up to the library.
So can you set up different timing parameters for the different types of notices?
I want to say that might depend on the ILS.
Okay.
And I will find the answer to that and get back to you. I can I'm pretty okay. I'm 80% confident that you can do that.
All right.
But I'll find out for sure and I'll get back to you. Any other questions about the templates?
Well, this was not about the templates, but we had a question. So I have my patron at the desk and they're angry they didn't get their whole pickup notice. So I'm going into their account in Koha and I'm looking at, what they had and verifying, okay, they did have a hold and all of that. So in order to get the information about whether that message was delivered or not, though, because I can't get that in Koha, then I have to come over here to MessageBee and do a search again for the patron to find their details. Is that correct?
Yes, unless it was after the yes, you would have to do that.
I thought so.
When those messages are coming over now, so when the report is generated, part of that, so okay, let me back up here. So when you've got holds notice that is generated by Koha, it's going to instead put that into a report. It's going to mark in Koha, in the ILS, that the message was sent.
Right.
And then that report comes over to us, and then we send out the message. So it's more or less pre-reporting in Koha what's going to happen.
So would you say then that I've got that angry patron in front of me. Would you say that then it would be a better workflow to, instead of really looking up in Koha about them, to just go directly to MessageBee and say, let me look up and see what messages I show?
Yeah, it is, especially since, as I pointed out, you could get down into the patron level and say exactly what time it was. So look in your inbox, look in your spam inbox. This is, and then you can show them, like, this is what you should have received right here. You can show them a sample of what that patron has received.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, sure. Going into the different kinds of communication, as I said before, the kinds of messages that libraries are sending out could be transactional in nature, which is what we've been discussing, or they could be outreach flavored. And MessageBee is really one system that could handle both, in addition to the outreach that you would put on your ILS messages. This is some of the other things that we can do for libraries. This is an example of one of the things that we can do because we are connected into the ILS. We could segment your population. And for example, this is a new patron journey. So when a a library patron signs up for a card, on the first day, they will receive a simple email welcoming them to the library. Doesn't have to be an email, I guess. Welcoming them to the library and telling them about how to access the information in the library. 3 weeks later, they will receive another one, maybe a little bit more in depth. And then lastly, they'll receive maybe 3 weeks later. So the whole thing is a journey. It's not just a welcome to the library first day. This can also make newsletters. You know what? Let me show you one of our customers that really makes use of this different types. So over here on the left, you can see the different templates. So there's a newsletter template, an announcement template, and they were doing vaccine clinics back in the day. So this is a great way to organize your outreach, keep them in little folders. So when you create a communication here, so you can edit the template or create a new one. When I was a emerging technology librarian for Pinal County, we used Constant Contact, and so I would pull up the previous month's newsletter and start editing that and save it as the new month. But it always frightened me that I would forget something, like I would leave something from the previous month. Here, you're creating a new communication based on a template. So this is what the Pikes Peak has done. This is an example of one of their newsletters. And of course, I chose an older one so I don't accidentally mess it up. So you can see now, if you've used Constant Contact or MailChimp, this will seem familiar. This is drag and drop. You can drag in these images, add in links, change the text however you want right here. Very easy to use, very easy to add in these buttons. I could send this either plain text or HTML. I could send a test email to myself. I'll show you what it looks like to send the notifications. This little thing pops up, and I'm given a choice of 2 different kinds of lists to send that to, and I'll get into those in a little bit. But one of them is an audience recipient list, which is more or less a static list, which you would find in any other kind of communication software. Audience lists are people who have signed up, opted in to receive the newsletter, for example. Dynamic list is a list of recipients who we're using attributes in the ILS to find those particular patrons. So maybe at a certain branch that have a birthday on this day, you want to send them a birthday message or whatever. I'll get into those dynamic lists in a little bit. The deduplicate is always on. I don't know why you would ever unclick that, but you've got the option to unclick it. And basically that's if, usually it searches for duplicate phone numbers or emails, and they're not going to send the same message 2 or 3 times to the same patron. That will come in handy when there's a parent with 4 kids and they use their email address for all 5 library or all 4 library cards. Rather than receiving 4 of the same message, you're just going to receive 1. And you can set this up to send in the future at any time in the future. And you can set this up to be a recurring message. Obviously, you wouldn't want to do that with a newsletter, but you get the idea. And I'm going to, and then this thing comes up and then I just hit submit and it sends it. So it's that easy to send out these targeted emails. They also do service announcements. So let me show you. So Penrose Library, here, there's one. This is a message to all of their library patrons that one of their branches is under construction and is closed. So keep it simple. They've got their library logo up here. Their another one was sent later about the restroom closure. And this is probably not sent to all of their library patrons, probably just the ones who have selected Penrose as their who have signed their library card for Penrose Library. So, you know, their home library. They do other library announcements, like, for example, there was a ballot initiative that they wanted to communicate to all of their library patrons. So it's really very flexible when it comes to sending out messages. I'm going to go back to the demo account here.
I have a question.
Yes.
So right now we have hold notices, notifications that are sent out through the ILS. And then we have library aware, in which we send out other types of messages to our patrons. And sometimes they opt out or unsubscribe
Yes.
from receiving the newsletters. And that's not a problem because it's separate.
Yes.
So if I'm a patron who has selected email notifications, but do not want to receive monthly newsletters, how does MessageBee handle that?
I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it's really up to the library. You could have opt-in. Most libraries have opt-in for their newsletters. There's several answers to your question. I'm going to try to get to all of that. So here, for example, is the different kinds of opt-ins that we could do. Main newsletter, author talks, local history. So these are widgets that could sit on your website that library patrons can opt in to receive, and maybe events for kids, right? Maybe there's a grandparent whose grandkids are visiting them over the summer, and they want to know the events for kids. So they opt in for events for kids. Well, September rolls around and the kid goes back home, and they can opt out just as easy as opting in. So opting out of all of our outreach is possible with, and I didn't show it to you on the newsletter. I should have. Right there at the bottom, there's an unsubscribe button. So that is important for a lot of library users, the ability to just, I'm no longer interested in receiving this. Now, you could conceivably use a opt-out as the sole way of generating your list, your recipient list. So you could send a monthly newsletter to everybody who has signed up for a library card with the option to opt out. You could do that. I don't know a lot of libraries that do that. They're more like letting patrons choose for themselves to opt in. Now, the ILS communication, we don't offer that opt out because that's ILS communication. The only way to opt out of receiving a message for ILS notices is to go to the library or call the library and say, you know, look, I'm receiving this on email and I'm receiving it via text. I don't think I need it sent via text anymore. So take me off of that. So you can do that at the ILS at the library for those transactional notices. But for outreach newsletters, that sort of thing, you could choose to opt in or opt out, but always the unsubscribe is available for patrons for those.
Okay. And then graphics, are they all graphics that we provide ourselves, or do you have a library of graphics available?
So far, we do not have a library of graphics available. That is coming. And I want to say by the second quarter of 2024. So within a few months, we will have graphics or visual templates up for libraries to use. But right now, it's just the libraries generating them and uploading them. It's pretty easy to do. And as I showed you on the Pima County one, you can just store those images right there on the site.
And then the last question related to newsletters is right now we have patrons can sign up for genre newsletters, whether
Yeah.
it's A to Z fiction or fantasy or whatever.
Yes.
And so the service that we're using picks the books and then has the descriptions, and then we can go in and say, oh, I really don't want to promote that book, or I'm not purchasing that book, and we can substitute. How does that work for you guys?
We are also working on that. Now, we're working at finding partners for that. Now, the Library Aware is really awesome in that they have, because they're working through novel list, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that we don't have the benefit of. We don't we don't have a partner. We don't partner with a competitor in that. So we are looking for another partner to provide that title information.
Okay.
That was our goal. That's our main goal in improving our newsletter function, is that ability to tie in to the bibliographic information. And when I get into the to the dynamic lists, for example, that would really come in handy, because you can see how if a certain patron has borrowed science fiction, maybe they've borrowed 6 science fiction titles in the last month or so, that would be a targeted message that you could send to them, like this is our latest science fiction. These are our latest science fiction acquisitions. So that is something that would tie into our dynamic lists very, very well. And as I said, we are working on adding bibliographic information to the dynamic list. But right now it has just the patron database working with our dynamic lists. So
okay. And that's right now it's separate. So anyway, I was just trying to see what features are the same and which are different.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
That's all the questions I have related to that.
Yeah. I would love to add in. I would love to be able to tell you we've got that ready to go. It is something that we're working on, though. I don't expect it will be very much longer before we can, before I would be proud to announce that that libraries can add in bibliographic new acquisitions, that sort of thing into this. For our dynamic lists, it's really easy to add the rule. You click here, add a rule, select an attribute in the ILS. Maybe patron type would be one, and you are selecting the values. Patron type, maybe juvenile, for example, and then you're just adding in that, or you're including or excluding that using these Boolean operators up here. And I'm just going to delete that and go back to the dynamic list. So those dynamic lists are in addition to regular static lists, which could be done either manually. Let me go back down to, they could be added in manually or uploaded wholesale on a CSV file. So for example, if you've got maybe Communico or LibCal or any kind of program tool, you have a list of everybody who signed up for a specific program. You can download that as a CSV file, upload it here. So for example, patrons who signed up for the beginning computer class, right? You can download that as a CSV file, upload it here, so you've got a list of patrons that maybe you want to communicate, hey, we've got an intermediate computer class for patrons, or check out our computer books. These are our new acquisitions. So you can just build these lists, and we have no limit to the number of recipient lists that you can have, nor do we limit the number of recipients per list. So these are the types of things that you can do. You could also edit the lists just based on manually. You can edit or delete members, recipients to that list manually. A couple of other features, and I know that we've gone over the time that I promised you, and I appreciate your time. A couple of other features that I want to highlight here is we also allow for SMS messaging for the patrons to message back into the library. So for example, maybe you send out a holds notice via SMS, and the patron who has received that, maybe they waited too long for that particular title and they went and bought the book. So they can communicate back to the library. And you'll notice that this little inbox right up here will indicate such. I'll show you. You can then communicate back to the patron. You could say, okay, that title is off the hold. Thank you very much. If there's anything else, you can you can visit our website or whatever. So so there's an example of how that indicates that there's a message waiting for that library. And another thing that we are doing for libraries is our here we go, Brazoria. We also do a automatic library card renewal. So here is an example. Similar to those dynamic lists, what this does is this searches every day. It searches in the future, maybe 30 days in the future, what library cards are going to expire. And then what we do is we search our third-party databases, the National Change of Address database, utility hookups, whatever it is. We're going to find the patron's current address. So here, for example, on November 1st, there were 4 patrons whose cards were expiring that they lived in the same residence. So those cards automatically got expired. There is one that has moved out. I'm not going to click on these because these are actual patrons. On the 2nd, November 2nd, there were 32 library patrons whose cards were renewed, and 9 of them were moved. So what we're doing is we're using this same dynamic list, tie it into the ILS to search, to help these library manage their renewals. So in the case of Brazoria, if we've renewed their card, they're going to receive this little message saying, hello, you know, we renewed your card for another 3 years. We're happy to do it, blah, blah, blah. If we were not able to find them, or if they've moved out of the service district, then we're not going to give up on them, but we will send them a notice that says, look, we notice that your card's going to expire soon. Come in, bring your utility bill with your current address. So that's just another way that we're using that dynamic list communication to help libraries manage their manage their communication with their patrons.
Eric,
Yes.
so can that address verification be used with overdue notices, or is it just for card renewal?
Well, so we have a yes, it can. The short answer is yes, it can. That's tied into more or less what we do, our flagship service, material recovery. We're starting to move material recovery now more into communicating. I think they changed the law so that we can now communicate via email for those. But prior to that, it was entirely done via postage, letters in the post, and phone calls. So that is more or less a kind of a different product. But yes, the short answer is yes, we can do it with we can even do it when library cards are first what is it called, applied for. Yeah, so we can check that. We're just in this case we're doing it for expired cards or renewed cards. So
Thanks.
anything else before I get out of the portal? And for our benefit, I'm also going to stop recording